can't advocate for and against it, but what we do advocate is for people having accurate information and then making their decision. Whether you vote for it or against it, that's the will of the community, but it needs to be based on informed information. So I'm glad Tanya cleared that up about the $2.6 million. It's true, but the footprint of the space, for instance, in the new building will be 7,700 square feet out of a total of about 140,000 square feet. That's the square footage for the district office. It's a great example of how sometimes, because we're all passionate and we all care about these things, and sometimes information gets incorrectly communicated or misunderstood.
Can you repeat that square footage?
7,700 square feet is the space of the office space of the administration in the new building.
On Henry Du Bois?
It's actually a little bit smaller. It's a little bit larger in the new building. And the reason that was done, I mean, there are a number of issues, and I'm not going to take them, was that when the architects looked at the footprint, it was very clear that the new, if you've been in the old building, you know, anything built in the 30s is like rock, that's rock solid. The new sections are not. And so to tear that down, because they were not letting themselves to classroom space. They let themselves to go to office space, be much more effective. That's why that decision is made. It also, according to the state, it enables us to qualify for aid in a different way, what actually aids the district. If we didn't have the district office in there, our aid formula would be different. Now, one of the things that I'm glad Fawn brought up the state aid, but she didn't make you aware of what the state aid, what the district, what our liability would be. So see, Fawn's correct, but she's not complete when she says that the school debt will be $100 million. Well, that's correct, kind of. But under the present system, which has been in place for 30, 40 years, and which Fawn referenced, which is state aid for building projects, which the governor, even though he's cutting operating aid, again, as Fawn said, has increased building aid $222 million across New York State. That program will offset our expenses so that our total debt out of our local pocket will be $56 million. Not $100 million, but $56 million. Now, Fawn said, and I wasn't aware of that, she talked about what happened in Ohioville, and that's horrendous, obviously, and no one's looking for that to happen. State aid has never been cut, and so we tried to say, well, what in this times, what could serve as a model for us? Well, regionally, teachers, New York State developed a new retirement package for teachers in an attempt to save money. But it was not retroactive. It was as of a certain date going forward. So our model from the state was, if we were to go forward with this, and we're given state aid, that if there's going to be a change, it'll be a change going forward. And you say, how can you guarantee that? Well, let's think politically for a second. At any time, there are probably, in New York State, half the school districts, there are over 700, that have some kind of building project aid in place. That means a building that has been built within the past 20 years. And for them to withdraw aid from buildings across the state would be a political nightmare and a political storm. The likelihood of that happening is, I think, is pretty low, as opposed to operating aid, which, yes, is being cut all across New York State. But that's budgets going forward. When you get state aid for a building, it's out for 20 years. So it's a promise from the state about how we're going to assist you for 20 years coming forward. And I have papers regarding that debt, which I will be happy to share with you. I also have some brochures on the middle school project if you're interested. Again, I want to clear up a couple of other figures. Tanya said that Tilson was going to be $500,000. Actually, Tilson is $350,000 is what we've been given. We've been given it rent-free. And it's actually unusual for us, and it's not one grade, it's 2 grades that are going there. And it's being done because there's no other facility in Newport of that size that could accommodate us. What we were looking at was having to rent mobile classroom spaces, which would have cost us $500,000. So, and that's what was in the budget. So what's been budgeted is more, so we're already achieving a savings in terms of what our projected budget is. Tanya also mentioned the issue of architectural plans. By state law, there can be no architectural plans until the bond is passed. Why is that? Because that involves a huge expenditure of money and commitment, which we have been not authorized to spend. If the bond should pass, and you can again see on the district website, then for the next 10 months, the architects then come in and develop their plans. They meet with the contract managers, they meet with people in the community, so that those are drawn up, those then go to the state. But again, this can't be done if people vote against it. Well, then there's no need for plans. So yes, these are schematics, and that's all that can be done by state law. And I'm glad we're having this more things, but as you can see that the need for accurate information is really, really important. So then when you make your decision, you can say, this is a lot of money. Absolutely, it's a lot of money. It's an outrageous amount of money. SUNY just recently did a project on Vandenberg, and they came in about $245 a square foot, which is exactly about what we're doing. Some people say, and the website's been going around, that our construction costs are 6 times higher than the national average. New York construction costs are higher than the national average. We are right in where we should be for this area of New York State. So nothing is, and it's based on estimates by a construction manager of what they anticipate costs will be. The other thing that, I don't know if you, in Gardiner, Joe, it's been an issue, but in New Paltz, we've heard that a number of municipal projects have recently come in under bid. So that what the board has committed to do is, if our figure of $49.78 million, if the bids come in lower, that the board has said we're not going to spend any more money, so if we come in at $46 million or $45 million, that's the only money the board will borrow. The vote on next Tuesday is only an authorization to spend up to that amount. If we can spend less, if the figures are better, that's fine. Also, the number you've been given in terms of what our interest rate is has been actually calculated very conservative by our business manager. He was told we could use a rate of 4%. Don't forget, the school bonds are tax-free, which is why they're lower than the rates that many of us would get. And he was using a rate of 4.5%. So, and that would go out to bonding next year. Okay. So again, let me urge you, I'm in the phone book. My name's Dave Dukler. I live down here. Paul and I are neighbors. You can call me for information. You can look at the website. I'm going to leave. I think more information is good. I think dialogue is good. I think the fact that people are challenging some of those figures is good. But please don't just accept what one person says. Do your research. Find out if any questions. You can also call our business manager. He will have a letter. You can call him at the district office. He will be happy to explain to you any questions you have about the project, or about the financing, or about how it will impact your taxes. And that information will also be here as well. Be happy to share it with you. So I'm just going to put it on the back table. Feel free to take it. And again, Dave Dukler, 6181. Call me anytime. I'll get back to you.
Thank you very much, Dave. John?
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, just to cut to the chase, the question I have is their figure of 21 million to renovate all 4 schools accurate versus 49.78 million to renovate 1 school?
Here's what happened. The study that was done in 2005, I did identify some of those things. At that time, we were able to get what was called an Excel grant, which was money from New York State that was no additional cost to us. What do I mean by that? It's all of our tax money. But the issue is, if we don't use it, someone else is going to use it. We were able to get a $3.3 million where we addressed many of those issues that were cited in that study. It wasn't ignored by the district.
No, that's my question.
Right. No. So, but you were asking about the renovation of the other buildings.
Instead of, in other words, the renovation of the middle school plus 3 other schools with 21
It was
million.
17.
Well, 17, they projected it up to 21 at today's dollar versus 2005 dollars. Is that an accurate figure? 21 million to do the middle school, a different project on the middle school, plus 3 other schools for 21.
That was only to address the systems that in that study of 2005 were essentially said were failed.